Welcome to Hoxframework, your internet friends channel. Thank you for watching my videos and have a nice day.
Hello everyone and welcome back. Today we're going to be solving a simple try hack me challenge called Jack of all trades, a boot to root machine from SecuriTay 2020, and it is an easy challenge. So now that we've deployed machine and I already connected the VPN, I can just copy the IP and paste it right here because I'm going to need it for later. Now the first thing that we're going to do obviously is we're going to run an nmap scan. So let's run an nmap scan on this IP, and one thing we're going to do as well is we're going to check if there is a service on 80 or 443. Let's see if it's alive at all. So now we've run a scan and it says that on 80 there is HTTP, but as you can see right here I can't access the page. So this is a bit of a problem. I thought it's my VPN, but it doesn't seem to be. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna scan for the versions to check what is going on right here, because nmap by default just scans that this is HTTP because port 80 is open, but when you run the version scan it will detect what service is actually running on 80. Now one thing you have to do is you have to enable the access to pages on different ports right here because they are considered under suspicious ports. So right here we have the open SSH enabled on 80, and this is a bit of a weird thing. On 80 I'm running SSH, that's weird, and on 22 running the HTTP. So let's try to access the site on 22, and if you try to access, it will actually work. Now of course this works for me. For you, you might get a block. This is the Firefox thing, so all you have to do is navigate to about config and proceed with caution. Yeah, sure, accept the risk. And right here you have to write this string, network.security.ports band override, and you're gonna see this one, and you can click the pen for example, and you can just type in 22. And this will make sure that you can access the page. So right here we have the page itself. We have Jack of all trades, all sorts of stuff, and we can read all this stuff. And we can already guess that we have a user called Jack, but we're going to think about that later. So right here we have some kind of a weird string. When we take a look at the page source, you always look at the page source. So let's take a look at what it is. Note to self, if I ever get locked out, I can get back at recovery.php. So I'm going to copy the string since I don't know what it is yet, but it's a base 64. That's what I'm sure because of the equal signs right here. So let's navigate back to the recovery PHP, and if we go right here it says, hello Jack, did you forget your password? And we can view the page source for this one as well. We actually found something right here. So it seems to be a really long string, and let's take a look at what it is. Yeah, it seems to be a really long base 64 string. So let's go back here and we can copy this as well. Okay, we're going to need both of those. And so now one thing that we want to do is, since we didn't run a Durabus or anything like that, I don't think we will have to because we already have the login. Maybe we can find something interesting there. But first, let's take a look at what we have on the site. So now, even though we don't know what's going on, we have the login field right here. We can try to decode these two before we get to anything else more complicated. So let's take a look at these two and let's try to decode echo and then that. And now we can do base 64 and tac D. So we can run echo with this and pipe it to base 64 tac D, and we can actually see the output of that. So we actually got what we wanted. It says, remember to wish Johnny Graves his crypto job hunting. His encoding styles are amazing. All right, so now I remember this from the write-ups for the challenge. I've actually taken a look at this challenge before. We already know that the Johnny Graves is someone that we can find on Google and his information. So we're going to wipe this one because we already used this one. We don't need it. We know that we used all the useful information that we had right here, and now we can do the same thing for this one, but in this case it's not going to work. Echo and then the string itself, and then pipe that to base 64 D, and as you can see we got stuff that doesn't seem right. All right, so we're gonna get back to that later. Let's take a look at what else can we do with this. So Johnny Graves, as I said, it's something that you can look up on Google. So let's just Google Johnny Graves. So the first thing we get is we got Johnny Graves on MySpace, and it says something about Raw 13, so this seems to be the one. But we can actually do crypto, for example, because that will, crypto, because that will make sure that we get results with crypto in them. And as you can see, we have cipher and crypto, and this seems to be the case. So we have this guy right here. It does seem like a fake person. Let's take a look at this bio here. I love breaking codes. I've done it all my life. Okay. So we have something right here. I've been working on cryptography. That's good. And we can actually see that he's using this encoding right here. So base 32, let's write this down. And as you can see, this LT and GT is just basically greater than. So we can just put that right here. This is just a mistake in MySpace, I'm guessing. Okay, so now we have his cipher, let's say, and let's navigate to CyberChef because this tool is really useful for these scenarios. So let's paste the thing right here, and right now we're going to do from base 32 because the encoding was, he first encoded it in raw 13, then hex, and then base 32. So we have to go backwards because we first want to decrypt base 32 or decode, and then hex, and then route 13. And as you can see, we get the regular hex from how it looks like. And now we're going to write hex from hex, and that will give us something that looks legit, but we need a little bit more. So route 13, it's not a Caesar cipher, it's route 13, so we're going to put that in. And right here you can actually see, remember that the credentials to recover login are hidden on the homepage. I know how forgetful you are, so here's a hint. Let's take a look at the hint. It's a link, and it's a Wikipedia link, but we have the same thing right here. So what I tried is to get out of these two pictures some steganography, but it didn't work. However, there's another picture that we're ignoring. Think outside the box, live, breathe, create. I am a nation. I don't know. Anyways, so it turns out that this one is actually stego. So if we navigate back to assets right here where everything is, we have the stego.jpg, and this is the one. And as I said, I haven't found anything there, but we do have the header.jpg in which I have found something. So let's just save this image as header.jpg. That's fine. Save it. Okay. So now that we save the image, it's on my desktop right here. So now we have to do some basic steganography on this picture right here. So let's do sudo steghide extract sf and then header.jpg, right? Enter the passphrase. And the passphrase, as you remember, we can try to guess them, but as you remember, we have a passphrase right here, and we didn't try it out yet. So we can try this out, and if it doesn't work, we can actually try to log in with something with this password. But as I tried this already, I know that it will work. So now we can just remove this header.jpg, and we can actually cat into cms.creds. And as you can see right here, we have the user and the password. And the password doesn't seem to be encrypted with anything, not at least as I can see. Good thing you thought ahead. Here we go, Jack. So this is for Jack, and we can actually remove the creds because we don't need them. All right, so now we can try this, and I'm guessing that this is an SSH password, but we're going to actually just take a look at the web login first. So Jack in the box, and the password that we had. So in our case, it's TPL something. And let's log in. We don't have to save it. Give me a CMD, and I'll run it for you, future Jack. So what this means right here, get me a CMD, and get is with capital letters, so that means get request. So let's do a question mark and a regular CMD equals, and let's do a who am I. And as you can see right here, it says data. For some reason it printed out twice. I don't know why, but that's fine. So now what we can do is we can do ls, and as you can see, we have index.php. So we're in, let's see what directory we're in. Yeah, bar www.html. So one thing you can also do is you can actually do lsla and stuff like that. You can print out all sorts of stuff. So the first thing that I thought about is let's try to enter the home directory, see what users do we have here, because we're www.data. That's not really the user that we want to use. So let's first take a look at users, see if we can find anything there. ls home, and let's take a look. So we have users Jack, and then we have the Jack's password list. So we obviously have a user Jack, and if we navigate to it, there is nothing special here. As a matter of fact, we can do LA as well, and we don't see anything right here. But that's fine because we have something at home. And we have, as a matter of fact, it's an interesting thing because we have Jack's password list. So let's do cat. Let's cat into that Jack's password list. Oh, sorry, LA. I made a typo. All right, there we go. And an interesting thing will happen. So as you can see right here, it seems like there is, a password printed out on the screen, but as you remember, some things repeated and everything was weird. So what I suggest is view page source. And as you can see right here, a lot of things happen. HTML got like tricked and stuff like that. So these are the passwords that we want to try. So let's take all these passwords. It seems like a word list, so we're going to save it as a word list. So let's make a new file, a word list.txt, and let's nano into it, and let's paste all of that. All right, so this is our word list. So now I'm guessing that one of these is for a user called FutureJack or Jack, but it doesn't seem to be likely that it's FutureJack. And as you remember from LSing the home directory, we actually have Jack right here. So it's probably for Jack. Now, is it the web thing? Well, we don't need another one of these, so we need a real shell. So let's use the password that we got for SSH breaking. So you can guess what we're going to use. We're going to use Hydra, and we're going to use L tag, which means basically specifying the user. In our case, it's Jack, and the P, capital P, which means the word list that we're going to use, and then we're going to use SSH and then the IP. All right, there we go. So we're going to specify SSH and the IP, and I forgot to put the slashes. But another thing that we have to specify right here is this is not going to work. Why? Well, because if you remember from our nmap scan, SSH was on actually port 80. So let's do S and then 80. Actually, I think it's lowercase s. And there we go. So now we're attacking it, and we already have the password. So we're broken through. We have the IP, and let's actually write this down because we write down everything. All right, so now that we have the password and everything, we can actually log in. So let's do a regular sudo SSH, and then we're going to have to specify the specific port for this one. So since SSH is on a specific port, we're going to use stack B and then 80, and then now we can continue with whatever we were doing. So user was, what was it, Jack at, and then the IP, just paste that in there. There we go. Now it's more clear. And now it's going to ask us, do you want to accept? Yeah, sure. I never even read that, sadly, so let's just copy the string and paste it and press enter, and there we go. We have a shell, so we're in. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is ls. Let's look at this user.jpg. So what we have to do right now is actually save it to our computer, because we want to take a look at it, what's inside of it and stuff like that. So let's do a sudo scp, and p, we need a port 80 because that is going to be the case for us because the SSH is on 80. So right now we're going to use the user, which is Jack, I think, and then the IP, which was this one. And then we want to specify a directory where the image is, and since as soon as we got into Jack, we actually got the directory of his home directory basically. So we're going to just put the dot here and a dot here. We want to specify a file, right? So we can just write user.jpg. There we go, and press dot right here because that will make sure that it's copying it into our current directory. And right now we're waiting for the password. Actually, wait. There we go. So it copied the user.jpg. So one thing you want to keep in mind right now, since I ran this with sudo, I got confused for a second there. So since I ran that with sudo, I actually have to run the image viewer with sudo, because if I actually go to the desktop and open the image right now, it will give me an error. So sudo, and what was it? I of gnome, or I guess, and user.jpg. So if you open this, you actually have this, which is the flag, and I'm not going to read anything of that because I basically read it, there's nothing there. And let me just copy the password because I wrote it already. So this is the flag. Let's copy that, and let's go back to our try hack me. There we go. So we can submit and it works. Good. So now all we have to do is escalate. So one thing that you want to do always is check the sudo and L. And as you can see right now, since it's already asked for a password, it's not going to work. So it's going to say user Jack may not run sudo. All right, that's fine. So we can find the specific suite files using find. So let's run find. And we're going to specify, so we can use the simple find command with user specified root and permissions for root, sorry, 400, that's not right. There we go, 4,000, there we go. So we can see a lot of things, and it's going to say permission denied and stuff like that, or you can use more complex finds. This is just a simple one, but it's going to be good enough for us to tell us what's going on. So as you can see right here, we have this, nothing is like pointing out from here except for the user bin strings. So this is a bit of an interesting thing. We have the user bin strings right here, and we have the sudo. All right, we know that gpassword, exim. We have the su. We have the mount. Never mind. So what we want to do is use these strings. So let's clear this out. Let's use the strings, and let's use root and root.txt because we're guessing it is there. Now it could be an image again and stuff like that. We don't know. We're going to check that out. Let's take a look. That works. So I didn't even have to specify sudo, as you can see, and that is fine because we got the flag. So that's it. We have the security 2020, and I'm going to put this right here. There we go. We have solved this challenge, and that's it. Thank you so much for watching, and have a nice day. I'll also leave the comments down below if you have any questions. I always answer them.
Thank you for watching my videos and have a nice day. Visit my website for more. Hoxframework.com.hr